Welcome. In today's video, we are going to be creating a pivot chart. In our previous video, we saw how we could simply create pivot table, but in this video, we are going to create pivot chart. To do that, we just click Insert and then Pivot Table from our range, which is fine. So we have it. Now first, let me create a simple pivot table of our products. So if you look at here, we have our products. It's a sales data set where we have products, quantity. Let me visualize it here. We have the category electronics, office supplies. Right? So we have products, smartwatch, monitor, cabinet, and the rest of them, quantity, unit price, total sales, and profit. So let me create a pivot table that shows the products. We do that by dragging product to the column. We have a list of products. And then we also drag product again to values. This time around, we don't want to see it as count. We can change it to percentage. So I will select here, show value as, change it to percentage of grand total. And then we also format the number. So it's 2 decimal place. We make it 1. And then OK. That's fine. So we can see percentages. Now, I want to create a pivot chart. How do you create a pivot chart? While on the pivot table analyze here, you just select this pivot chart. Select it, and we choose the kind of chart we want. So I'm representing products by percentages. It's convenient for me to use a pie chart or a donut chart. So whichever you prefer, you can use it here. It will show very well. So this is what we have. You can see we have our donut chart. Now let me do a little formatting on the chart to have it well. The title here, I'll take it away. Let's add data label. So I'll select here and say I want to see data labels. So we select it. And the font size for the data label, let's add it. So I'll go to home. I will increase it a little. So maybe 14. I can also make it bold. So this is fine. Let me also increase this just to like 11, which is fine. Now, if you look at this visual, we have a lot of things. And the donut, is just showing a lot of data. It's not suitable as a visual. And most of the values are just within similar range. 4 point something, 4.3, 4.7, and the rest of them. Now, let's see. With pivot table, you can reduce what you see on your visual. Generally, the products, I can just come here and say, I don't want to see anything but basketball, chair, and decks. You put OK, so you can see. This makes a lot of sense. It looks very presentable and very simple. Right? However, instead of selecting items one after the other, we can use a slicer. Right, so a slicer can give us a nice way of representing our items based on certain categorization. Right? If you look at our data set here, we have the category. So why not display this thing based on categories? So that's what we want to do. We just bring in the slicer. To do that, you select this pivot chart analyze, and then you see the slicer here. Insert slicer, we select, and we now have to select what we want to use to slice. So I want to use category to slice, so I'll say OK, and then we have it. Now, remember, we already have a filter placed here, so we remove the filter so that all the items will be shown. Now you can see. Now, what's the use of the slicer? It helps us to narrow down our visualizations into category. If I'm presenting a report and I want to see clothing, sales of clothing, I can just select it. So this is the percentage sales of clothing. Of course, very easy. You can see that we have 21.3 here, which is the jacket that sold most. Then we can select other categories, electronics, and we have only electronics. Be observing the products we have here, they also change. If I see furniture, you can now see bookshelf, cabinet, chair, and the rest of them. Very nice and very easy. Now, the next thing I want to show us is how to create other visuals using the same concept. Visual like a trend chart. So let's try to create a trend chart using the same setup. But a trend chart has the period of observation, which is normally on the x-axis, and then we have the line flowing from left to right. So by the time we have so many products, we expect to see so many lines, but then with the help of the slicer and in the pivot table, you can be able to work it out in a way it will look very nice and presentable by showing only items that you want to focus on at a particular time. So let's try and do that. Now, once we select the pivot chart area, we have this. We can remove these items. This time around, we can see we have filter, we have legend. So our legend is our series. And our series is the date. So we have our date. So date will flow as a series. And then we also need values. So we want to see total sales. Drag total sales to our value. And then we want to categorize them. So category can also come here. So we have category in our axis. Now, if you look at the visual, it's not a line chart. Why? Because we are working with a pie chart. So we have to change it to a line chart. So for us to change it to line chart, while selecting it, we just go to design, and then we change our chart. So can you see change chart type? We select here, and we choose the appropriate one. So I want a line chart. Select it, just a basic one, and then I'll say okay. So we have a line chart, right? So, but then it's still not presentable. Why? It's because of the axis. We know that in line chart, we need to have the dates on the x-axis. So all we need to do is to switch the rows and columns. Just come here and select here, and then we have our chart nicely presented. Now, what have you noticed? This chart works with the slicer. So the slicer shows the category. If I go to electronics, I'm going to see for electronics. If I go here, I also see for clothing. So I have clothing, electronics, furniture. You can see different trends, right? I may decide to show multiple items at once. I may decide to say, I want to see office supply, and I want to compare office supplies with clothing. So you hold the control key and you select clothing. If you notice, we have two lines, the orange and the blue line. You can see the orange line is for office supplies. So what will you say about the trend? Of course, both items fluctuated in sales, but we can see while there was spike on the 14th for office supplies, there were two visible spikes here for clothing. So this is how to work with pivot table. We can create multiple charts at the same time and use the same controller to visualize them. So as we can see, this is how to work with the pivot chart. You select whatever item you want to see. You can see the trends for the item. We hold on control key and we can see multiple items at the same time. So we can see three lines. Of course, we can edit our visual by selecting the chart area here. Going to style, we can change the color. Maybe the colors we want to see should be vibrant and very different. We can see them here. So we select it here. So this is how to create a pivot chart, and this is how to use a slicer to manipulate a pivot chart. I hope you enjoyed this video.